The Homer Center High School Principal Jody Rainey, presented by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Jody, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful. It's good to have you with us here this morning. A couple of things I want to talk about with you. Number one, put on your Heritage Conference coach's hat or president's hat here for a second. And after the judge's ruling yesterday, the federal judge turning down Governor Wolf's stay, does that change anything about how the Heritage Conference approaches attendance on a school-by-school basis?
Yeah, what we met the other day, Todd, and what we are working on, and again, keeping in mind that things can be fluid and change right now. As we stand today, most of the schools, because obviously it's still local decisions that can guide how different schools handle it based on their health and safety plans. But as of it stands today, the two sports that were most impacted were volleyball and varsity football. So for volleyball, we now have the players in the gym, all the players, and we also have permitted two parents, for each player for home and away teams. Now, there's some schools that are still following some of the guidance because that's what we were asked to consider. But for the most part across the conference, it's going to be for junior high and varsity volleyball. All the players are in the gym now, and then also two parents for each of the players. And I think the thing that's really important to keep in mind for anyone out there listening is, number one, if you're not sure about where your school falls, it's a member of the Heritage Conference, contact your local principal or athletic director. Number two would be that what did not change is a minimum of 6 feet of distancing is required, and also face coverings are required when you are arriving, attending, and departing. So I think that's important. For varsity football, what we're doing, bands and cheer will still only participate for their home events, but in away games, now, who gets, like if we have a game in Homer, who would get tickets as it stands today? All of our band parents, would get two each, two per band member. Our cheerleaders would get two for their parents, 9 through 12 grades. Same with the players. And then the players of the visiting team, their parents would be given 2 tickets as well. Okay. And so it's still limited to parents, but at least we're getting parents in to see their children perform and play.
Now, you say given, so the tickets are not for sale, they're actually given to them? Or do they purchase them?
That's up to each school to handle. My understanding was that so we could better control that and know who parents are versus who maybe parents are not, and just to make sure, because the 6 feet of distancing and the face coverings are still in effect for football games as well. So we're asking people, we're slowly but surely chipping away at this. So they can help us tremendously by adhering to the social distancing guidelines and the face covering guidelines. They are still in effect. Those weren't part of the ruling of currently as being unconstitutional.
All right, very good. Now take that hat off and put on your Homer Center hat, okay?
Okay, got it on. I got Mrs. Yurky here with me too. She's one of my features, so if I have a film, we'll get into some conversation she can help us with. So
very good. Very good. We're a month in, and it's I guess the most appropriate question. Has everybody settled into a routine? Have there been things that have cropped up that need to be handled right away?
Well, there's been a lot of things that needed to be handled. Settling into a routine, I kind of say I think it's learning new routines. Those routines change all the time. We're trying to be safer, trying to be better. Things that we planned to work a certain way, maybe we needed to adjust. I would say this is I think that the effort of our students, first and foremost, has been phenomenal. Their willingness to adjust, their willingness to accept that some of the restrictions that they do have are just part of their new routines. And our staff has worked. I think teachers across this county, I can tell you at Homer Center High School and elementary school, teachers are working harder than they've ever worked in their lives. I can assure you of that, because we have so many different ways for kids to learn now, and they're doing a phenomenal job of making sure that the quality of that instruction is being delivered every day.
Well, let's talk with one of those teachers. Mrs. Yurky, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you with us. From a teacher's perspective, what's it like on a typical day for a Homer Center teacher?
Well, I'll say this isn't what I was prepared for when I went to school to learn how to be a teacher. But the ultimate goal is to provide a quality instruction to our students. However we do that just means, as Mr. Rainey said, we work a heck of a lot harder. But our focus is always on what's best for our kids and our community. So we're doing what needs to be done to the best of our ability in the situation that's changing sometimes day to day. But we're really thankful that it's a team effort, and everybody's trying to contribute what they can. And so settling into a routine. Well, routines are great if those routines can stay routines. But when things change here or there, that becomes an issue. But I think we did what we could to be prepared for the majority of situations. And we do what we do best, and that is adjust as necessary to serve our kids.
Mr. Rainey was talking about very complimentary of the students and the way that they have handled this. And I know as a teacher it must be very gratifying to actually be in a classroom with students again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The teaching is about working with students, and so it's best when you can work with students.
Yeah, absolutely. So in those interactions with students, of course, they're wearing their masks, you're wearing your mask, and it's different, but are they pretty much into learning mode as soon as they come into the classroom, as you would anticipate?
I think that our kids have always been wonderful here in doing what they need to do to be students. So they're walking in. We have a lot more that's being done electronically using Google Classroom. So those routines are pretty well established, right? The kids come in, they get logged in, they're ready to go. I think that they also appreciate the ability to be here and to be learning. So I think they're willing to do their part on the team, to make sure that continues to happen.
Yeah. Jody Rainey, let's get you back in on this conversation as we talk about the situation at Homer Center right now. Of course, it is not just what's happening in the classroom or in the hallways, but the extracurriculars and clubs and all of those things. I don't know that you could call it a normal schedule, but what sort of schedule do you have for those sorts of activities?
Well, we told our clubs, I don't want to diminish any of our clubs, but there are certain clubs that I guess we would call essential, to use a word that's really used a lot now, essential, and others that are, I don't want to use the word non-essential, and so trying to get those clubs that have different activities that can be accomplished while maintaining all the different safety procedures we have in place. So trying to do things virtually. And when Mrs. Yurky talked about Google Classroom, we actually have our dashboard set that, club information, announcements, those types of things are all shared out there for our students to keep them informed and involved. I think that I don't want to say it's normal. We did vote for our homecoming court last week, so that's something that's really, fairly traditional and routine. But to say that homecoming will be anything but traditional and routine, I still am working out those details of what that's going to look like for us.
Well, it's interesting to me as we are about out of time this morning, but, Mrs. Yurky mentioned that this is not the way that she thought it would work out when she was in school training to be a teacher, and I'm sure it wasn't what you were thinking of either. But isn't it amazing how adaptable people can be?
It is. And the thing I'm most proud of Homer Center, Todd, is, what we have three different key models kids can learn from. We have in-person instruction, so, families, based on their comfort level and also based on their family situation and dynamic, students can come here and learn 5 days a week in person. We have a synchronous live model with remote learning. So if for some reason students can't come to school, let's say they happen to unfortunately end in a quarantine or just their family dynamic and situation, they can remote in real time. So our first period starts at 8:40. They remote in at 8:40, so they're hearing the instruction, they're interacting with their classmates, they're getting the full benefit of the instructional program, but they're just, the only difference is they're physically not there, they're there electronically. Mm-hmm. And then we have an asynchronous model where students can work at their own time and pace. There's certain requirements of how much time and how much they have to do during the week. So we have those options as well. So the thing that I'm most proud of, I think, of the way we're doing it is the fact that our parents, based on their dynamic, their children, we're giving that choice really to the parent. And I'm very proud of that because as a parent myself, I want to make those decisions for my child. And I'm just really proud of our district for providing that opportunity for our parents.
Absolutely.
And then the second thing is, I think, too, is, Mrs. Yurky's one. That's why I have her here today. And Mrs. Adams and Mrs. McGulis, I can speak to them in the high school. And there's many in the elementary that are doing the same down there, is really taking the information we gained last spring from trying to do remote learning and learning from the things that worked and correcting and improving the things that we knew could be improved. I really believe that we continue to build that program, and it's going to be a very strong academic option. It's not just do work, be fluff. It's true instruction, and I'm really proud of our teachers for the effort they put into that. And you talked about what's important. I've always said this, Todd, what makes Homer Center go is the relationships. I mean, the relationships with kids is everything, academics, athletics, band, anything you want to talk about, all centers around relationships. And it's really hard to establish those types of relationships with kids whenever you don't have them face to face.
Well, we appreciate your time this morning, Mrs. Yurky, as well. Things going well at Homer Center, despite all of the different challenges. Have a great day today. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Todd.